hit a bit of a snag with the diff build. I knew what broke inside the diff was probably a high chance of either a crown, wheel and pinion gear, or both usually. I've done it a lot of times, so that's what it usually is. So my plan was just to pull the two-way center out and put it in another diff. So I pretty much got a whole bunch of spares together and took it to Spec, which is, he's like the diff guru. Really good guy, knows his stuff, especially with this and stuff. So what I figured out when I went there was I had a bunch of diffs. One was a lot stronger than the others. So with the R33s, this main carrier area is a lot bigger. So the S13 diffs, or the older style diffs, this is small and it causes the pinion gear to try and walk, and obviously that'll end up breaking teeth because it's less contact patch. So this is a diff center to suit those early diffs. They have an M12 bolt there. The bigger ones have M13. So I wanted to use the strongest diff I had, which means I can't use this center. I ended up agreeing to rebuild the whole diff, the new one, just to make sure everything's as strong as possible. All the bearings are all good, all the tolerances are good, nothing's going to wear prematurely. The problem I have is obviously it's going to cost a lot more money. One, for the rebuild, the bearings and the labour obviously is expensive, and you really need to know what you're doing with that stuff. Two, I'm going to have to buy a new center to match the stronger gear set in the 411. That way it's the strongest housing, it's the strongest gear set. Then I'll get a brand new two-way center, which they usually don't have a problem. It's just I can't run this with the strongest gear set, so that's where I'm at the moment. The only other problem is I now have a choice of choosing one to suit the GTS-T, which is a 5-bolt pattern, or the GDR, which is 6x1. So that's obviously, you can see there, that's a 5-bolt pattern, which is GTS-T, and the GDR is a 6-bolt. I can't slide these half shafts into the GDR diff center, otherwise I would just do that. From here, the spline is a different spline, so I can't use these in the GDR center. But yeah, the strongest possible outcome is GDR center, GDR stub axle to suit. GDR CV shaft is stronger than the 5-bolt GTS-T one. They're just a thicker shaft. These are stronger, the splines are bigger, and also where they slide into the hub is bigger on this end. So it's just the strongest combination you can have without doing a diff conversion. The problem I have is I don't have anything to suit that diff if I get the GDR center built. It sounds like a stupid thing to do. I have the 5-bolt shaft set up in my car now. The problem I have is if I want to put more power in that car, or bigger tires or anything like that, I might have problems later on with the drive shaft. And if I did get the diff built to suit these, and then I started breaking axles, realistically I'd have to get another diff built to suit the stronger axles. And I want to try and spend the money once, spend it properly. But at the same time, if I get the GDR center built, then I need to pay for new axles and hubs, which are not cheap in GDR world. It's it'll cost me around $2,000 just for the axles. So I've hatched a little bit of a plan to try and do what works best for me. I'm going to try and get the GDR diff center with the GDR half shafts, and then I want to see if I can slide the CVs up a tiny bit, and I want to try and get a conversion spacer made so I can run the GDR on this side and then the GTS-T on this side. Yeah, that just means I can run the axles I've got, which I have spares for, and if for whatever reason the diff does break, I should be able to replace it with the GTS-T diff that I have spare, and I'm going to weld up just to take to the track. That way I can run those axles. I don't think the car at the moment will stress those axles at all, not the GTS-T ones. I've never broken one. The car only makes 400, which is not a lot of power. I don't think I could make enough power to stress those axles, but the problem is, like, I'm trying to future-proof this car. If competition in WA ever gets serious and I want to put more power in the car and semi-slicks and stuff like that, that's when I'm going to have a problem with the axles, I think. So rather than get the diff built to suit what I have now and then have to get it rebuilt if it ever gets to that stage, I'd rather over-engineer it sort of thing, build it stronger than I need now, and if I can get away with that spacer just around the firebolt setup, that means, yeah, if drifting ever does get that serious in Perth, then I can just unbolt those axles in the spacer, bolt in GDR shafts, and it's pretty much bulletproof, or as close as it can be without doing diff conversions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's where I'm at with the diff. It's been a hard decision because on one hand I can make it strong enough for the car now, on the other hand I have to spend a lot more money just to make the GDR setup work, but I'm hoping this spacer idea works, and if it doesn't, the car might not be out for a little bit longer, but it'll be stronger in the long run. I made a bit of a deal with myself with this car because a lot of the times I'll buy a drift car, not like anything on it, and pull it all to pieces. Problem with that is I just miss out on track time. It's always, one thing leads to another and the car's off the track for a year or two. So I made a deal with myself that I'm not going to do it with this car. It does need a lot. I don't like a lot of what's on it. But if something breaks, I'll do it properly so it doesn't break again. So I'm hoping at one piece at a time, eventually it'll be a bulletproof, reliable setup. And this diff is part of that puzzle, I guess. So if I spend the money once, I won't have to worry about the diff again. The motor's fully built now. It's only running 400 horsepower because it's being held back by the turbo setup and the injectors and stuff like that, but 400 is enough for what it's doing now. I just want to make sure if drifting does get serious, I want to have a car that's competitive. So yeah, it does seem like a bit of a stupid thing to spend all this money on driveline stuff when it probably doesn't need it, but eventually if drifting takes off, I don't want to be the guy that can't make that much power or that keeps breaking my car every event, because I've done that once and it's no fun. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't know when the video is going to come out or when I'm going to get the diff back or whatever, but I'm just I'll probably edit it up as I go, and if I have enough footage to release a video, I'll do that. Sweet.